Hello, I'm your friend Dylan, and I bought a $530 video game console just so I could play a 23-year-old game. Hello, and welcome back to your friend who likes games. Today I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. Actually, I want to start with some housekeeping. So, thinking of the show structure a whole lot as of late, and how it doesn't quite match my video game consumption, or at least I would like the show to kind of reflect a more natural take on how I spend my weeks. I would love to pretend and have pretended that I kind of play one game at a time or focus on one game at a time, talk about one game per week and really dig into it. But I've found that it's very limiting for my brain in that I am a person that values novelty, both novelty and nostalgia. I like to kind of loop games where I like to have a game that is kind of new and fresh. I like to have a game that I'm pecking at. I like to have a game that is kind of a comfort game. And that's more of the truth of how I consume video games than just picking one and sticking with it. And I think it's causing a lot of burnout. It's causing some FOMO in both how the burnout of playing the same game and telling myself that's all I should play that week so I have a good show. And then the FOMO is there might be I'll talk about in a little bit a Pokemon Echo announcement, and it's oh, I want to play that. I'm excited about it. But I'm not covering that one this week. So I know that these are all things that you all don't have an effect on, but it's just something I've been thinking about, and I really liked the last episode that I did, Switch 1 to Switch 2, where I allowed myself to talk about multiple games and really encompass the week that I had in video games. And I think that is going to be more of the goal. So moving forward, I want to try to have a structure where at the top of the show, I tell you all the 1, 2, 3, or 4 different sections. I think 3 is a good number, but we'll see. And I'm going to have sections of the show that each have a title or a context. And those contexts will explain what I'm going to talk about. And then I'll put the sections in the show notes. Maybe I'll timestamp each one. So if there's one you're more or less excited about, you can jump to it. And then it's not so just on one game and focused on that, because I think a lot of times I talk about games and really just kind of describe what they are. And I think that's something you all can discover on your own. And really, I think what I have found special in a variety of video game podcasts is the sharing of experience. And that's really what I think connects us, is that kind of, yes, we are familiar with the games, but it's cool to hear how somebody interprets it and engages with the art. So with that, that's what I'm going to try going forward. And as if you've been listening for a while, you know that this show has evolved in a variety of ways and will continue to evolve in a variety of ways. I think it is very hard for me to pigeonhole myself into a sort of structure that does the same exact thing each time, because that's just not how life works. And at least that is not how my brain works. So I want to match up those experiences to where the show is, again, more of a reflection of what I am doing, instead of an attempt to try to do something that I might not naturally be. So there's that. There's housekeeping for today, and we're going to move on to the sections. So the 3 sections of the show that I have for you today are going to be: 1, new games with demos that I have yet to play. So a bunch of games that are released and coming out, and all have demos that are available that I'm looking forward to playing. Section 2, I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time. That's 1997's Final Fantasy VII, or at least a Switch port of it. We'll be talking about that. And then lastly, I will conclude with Mario Kart World Online that I've dipped into as of late. And I think in addition to housekeeping, I'm going to shed a couple things from the show that are kind of just taking airspace and not necessarily getting any sort of engagement. Not any, but not as much as I anticipated. And that would be the the other stuff section where I kind of talk about other things I'm into. And really, I found that I don't really like get into or talk about those things. I just kind of mention what they are and maybe what is significant about them to me, which isn't, I don't think, helping the show in any sort of way. If you're interested in other things that I'm interested in, you could always reach out, of course. Find me at Your Friend Who Likes Games on Instagram and other socials. But I would say that and the kind of discussion questions did not take as adamantly or as quickly as I thought they would, they feel a little forced, I will say. And I think I need to allow people to just enjoy the show without any sort of like additional engagement. So, I want to extend the invitation. If you want to talk about games, let's do so, and please reach out. But if you just want to listen to the show, and that's, what a lot of you here are here for, I don't want to force people to do anything that might make them uncomfortable or it's not the way that the show is being used. So again, I want to shave that kind of stuff so that we can just get into and focus on games played, and hopefully do so in a more natural fashion than I have in the past, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to take a quick break, and then when I come back, I am going to talk about a bunch of new games with demos that I have yet to play. See you soon. All right, welcome back, and here is section 1 of today's show. New games with demos that I have yet to play, and I want to add one just to, this doesn't really fit the description, but it's definitely exciting. A little bit of news here that I heard that Ball Pit is had been teased by Devolver Digital to come to mobile, and I love that idea. I think I would devour this game if it was on my phone all the time. It just seems like a good fit. It has that verticality to it. It has that mindlessness to it, but also like a really nice physicality to it. I would totally pick it up on mobile and replay all of it, or just let it run or whatever. Super into that idea. So yes, please, Devolver, let's make that happen soon. Here are some new games with some demos that looking forward to playing. And the first one I've seen, and a lot of these, thanks to folks that I have followed on socials, I see a lot of people sharing a lot of these games. And if we are connected on social media, thank you to you for a lot of these shares and recommendations. A lot of this stuff looks really cool. And the first one is Flock Around. I'm going to read each of the Steam descriptions for each of these so that they can speak to it a little better, and then I will share some initial thoughts. Flock Around is a multiplayer birdwatching game. Explore a nature sanctuary with friends, snap pictures of birds, and fill out the guidebook. And instantly, this game is in that vein of what everybody is starting to call co-op slop. Is that it? Friend slop. There it is. Friend slop. Where, the likes of Peak and games similar to where you're getting together with friends to do a simple thing. And I'm all about this. It is a cute looking game that clearly art style wise seems to be it looks like a mix of Peak meets A Short Hike. And yeah, it looks to be a game where you're walking around with friends and taking pictures of birds and logging them. And I like the play on words with the title, to flock around. So just have some fun with friends and collect some birds. There is a demo of it. I'm curious with all of these kind of friend slop games, like Peak, I know that you could play solo, and I have yet to touch that game. I know my sister and brother-in-law play it too, so it's not like I don't have people to play with. But I am a millennial, and millennials like single-player games, and I don't mind playing online. But I think I'm curious with each of these kinds of games, what's the one player look like, so I don't have to rely on. I think that's it for me. Is like I don't want to have to rely on getting together with someone to play a game. I just want to see what it's about. So that's Flock Around. There's one out of many here. And this game seems to be the game to play. I've heard a lot and seen a lot of sharing of Hermit and Pig. Hermit and Pig, from the Steam description here, says is a story-rich, turn-based RPG where you fend off wild assailants, forage mushrooms, survive social anxiety, and stumble into a corporate conspiracy with your trusty pig. I do remember playing the demo of this one, so I lied to you. I played this one like a very long time ago and played maybe like 5 seconds of it. Enough to be like, yep, this is going to be cool, and I want to wait until it comes out, and then all of a sudden it is out. It looks really charming. It looks to be, and from what I'm hearing, very heartfelt. The art style is super unique, and oddly enough, it kind of reminds me of like a simpler Eastward, at least in the like almost like Japanese cartoony, simple like kind of way. And yeah, like the art style definitely wins of this kind of like old man with a white mustache and glasses and a little beanie hat, and it's enough for me to not even look further into, and I just kind of want to play it eventually. And I trust the folks that have said this one is good. Shout out to Good Game Lobby and so many games that those folks have reviewed and played early and said that, yeah, this one is worth your time. So yeah, maybe I think like a 10-hour RPG, which is perfect. And looking forward to getting around to this one. Hermit and Pig. Check that out. And again, demo available now. Another one that I've seen a lot of shares for and looks fun to sit with a mouse and keyboard and play is Thrifty Business. Steam description here says, run your very own thrift shop in this laid-back management sim. Sort through boxes to find hidden treasures and arrange nostalgic displays of clothes, antiques, toys, and more. Befriend the regulars, help with their requests, and expand your store into a hub for the local community. Yeah, this one is looking very sticky business, and like Gordlets. Like it's got that like bright pink and purple aesthetic to it. It's got really nice pixel art and seems to have more than just what is set out to be. And I love these kind of like simple shop management games. It looks to have a story to it as well, where you might be able to have like, looks like there's like dateable characters, but I like that not only do you get to set up what looks to be a thrift store, which has a ton of potential, where I'm sure you are like finding and unlocking different things to put on display, and then you get to decide how they're displayed, and then to see characters come in and like interact and decide what to buy. And I'm sure then, and I'm hoping that whatever they buy, they just like end up wearing throughout the story and playthrough. Looks excellent, like really, really good pixel art, and it's by Spellgarden Games, and no release date as of yet, but there is a demo out to try. And I know some folks at No Small Games that have really said that this one has been stellar and really enjoyed the demo there. So check that out. Next up is Replaced. This is a game that I have seen hype for on social media for like a couple years at least. The pixel art alone looks stunning. It's like pixel art sprites with like really realistic lighting, and I'd call it like 2.5D renderings, where not all of it's pixel art, but it looks to be this like beautiful blend of like pixel art and 2.5D 3D like gameplay that has some really cool cinematic features. Like I almost for a while didn't think that this game was real. Like it's one of those things, like you, unfortunately now in the world we live in with AI and everything presenting all sorts of random ideas in our algorithms, I wasn't sure if this game was a real thing and actually happening, and then all of a sudden it's coming out on March 12th. So quiet in development, and some really impressive gameplay and screenshots to share that they have been doing so for a while. But again, shout out to Say from Good Game Lobby. He said to have gotten this demo early and definitely worth our attention too. Here is the Steam description. Expose the sinister secrets of Phoenix Corporation as Reach, an AI trapped in a human body. Set in an alternative... Sorry, that's ironic. That's funny. AI. Whew. Set in an alternative 1980s America scarred by nuclear catastrophe, navigate a dark cyberpunk thriller in this narrative-driven 2.5D platformer blending cinematic exploration with fluid, free-flow action. And you just gotta check out trailers for this. Like I've been seeing a bunch of it on social media for a while, and the art style just wins here. I am curious how it plays. Again, looks very cinematic. Wondering if it feels good or just like really, really looks good. So there is a demo, like I said. That's out now and available to play. A couple more. This game I don't know a whole lot about, but I've seen, and the art style of it looks very like PlayStation 1 inspired, and it is called Airframe Ultra. It says there's only two types of racers in Mega City West, the winners and the dead. So fire up your airframe and strap on your katana. Welcome to the violent underground world of ultra circuit racing. Yeah, it's like riding these like hover jet skis in a very like Jet Moto kind of way. It looks like Jet Moto meets like Road Rage, and then there is not only that, but seems to have like combat sequences, and I hope like a story too. Asks to join the beta, and there is a demo for it available. This one for me, it just looks cool. Like it has a very like in PS1 like art style. It's all these like street folk with kind of like urban attire, and they're all wearing like motorcycle helmets, and looks like the movement is like really fluid, but it is completely rendered in like a very unique looking PlayStation 1 art style. Very cyberpunky. Says vehicular combat listed as a tag for it, but yeah, looks at the very least interesting and something that I want to try for its uniqueness and like what it's looking to present. I'd even compare it to like some segments in this trailer even kind of give me like Skate Story vibes, especially the moments like you're skating through hell, and a lot of these can be a little darker in that way. Yeah, this game looks sick. It's cool. Like it replaced, and this one just like to me feel like games that like I'm like questioning if they actually exist, but it says there's a demo available, so we'll see. Yeah. All right. Lastly, was excited to see the release of Pokemon Echo, which is another fan-made Pokemon game. And a couple things from the website say that this demo is a first glimpse into the project. It's a slice of the adventure that introduces the story, characters, and atmosphere I'm building. So I don't know if it's like out the way that the creator wants it to be, but it seems available to play, whether it's a demo or not. And it seems to be more of like a Pokemon exploration game, not so much like a Pokemon game in the like traditional sense like Pokemon Lazarus was. But yeah, it says a few tips here. It says, take your time exploring. There are plenty of little details to discover. Echo is a game centered on exploration. If you rush through the dialogues without paying attention, you'll miss key context and won't know where to go. So I like that as a sort of challenge to Pokemon players because a lot of folks, as I've talked before with Pokemon Lazarus, like you can just skip through that like first hour because it could be very taxing to kind of be in, but like it wants you to pay attention to what people are saying, and it seems like a different approach to a game where it is a top-down exploration game that looks to offer some really nice pixel art. But I like the component that it is like, yes, it's a Pokemon game, but a different Pokemon game, almost like how Pokemon Snap is not a quote-unquote Pokemon game, but it's a Pokemon adjacent game. Other notes say some mechanics differ either slightly or significantly from the official series. The game will explain these changes, but they're also addressed in the wiki. The game will clearly indicate when you have reached the demo's key plot points, but that doesn't mean exploration ends there. Many optional areas remain to be discovered. So, and then there's the legal disclaimer, of course, how this game is free and you cannot be sold in any way, shape, or form because it is offering licensed material, being Pokemon, but it is a fan-made game. And it looks to be downloadable to both Windows and Mac. So, yeah, check out Pokemon Echo if you're looking for a Pokemon-adjacent game. I've been looking at Pokemon ZA and hopefully playing that newest addition to the Pokemon franchise soon, but that might be for another episode. And that concludes this section of the podcast where I talked about some new games with some demos to play. And I will list these, of course, in the show notes, but here they are again. One was Ball Pit Mobile, ? Flock Around, Hermit and Pig, Thrifty Business, Replaced, Airframe Ultra, and Pokemon Echo. Oh my goodness, I forgot one. Oh, hang on, well, you know what? Let's just say it real quick. Little Gator Game in the Dark. That's another one that I think has a demo and is now out. So there's a bonus one for you. If you like the Little Gator Game, or if you're not familiar with Little Gator Game, go play a Little Gator Game. And they came out with an expansion where now it's like in the dark and there's more stuff to do. So, yeah. All right. That concludes this section. When I come back, I'm going to talk about how I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time in 2026. See you soon. All right, we are back. And yes, I played Final Fantasy VII from 1997 for the first time. I'm going to say I played it for the first time. I am 34 years old. And in 1997, I was 6. And I can't remember if, like, my uncle gave me an actual copy of the game. Like, I swore I remember having, like, that, like, multi-disc copy of Final Fantasy VII. And I feel like that might be right, or I'm making that up, but I'm going to roll with it. And I definitely played the, like, demo disc of Final Fantasy VII. And as a kid, that game was something I was so interested in because I thought Cloud looked so cool with his giant sword. But it's something that I definitely, like, my young brain was not ready for, nor did I understand. And that mixed with PlayStation 1 being, like, so serious during that time, like, it was really trying to set itself apart from Nintendo and be like, we make adult games. And it's definitely an adult game, and I'm happy to have dipped my toe into the franchise. I will say I've only played about 10 hours of Final Fantasy VII, and from what I look at with, like, YouTube playthroughs, like, really, like, 7 hours if you know what you're doing. I'm currently on the ship away from that first continent onto another continent as disguised as a Shinra soldier. But it's been a really cool experience. And the way I ended up in, like, starting this experience was at times when I am budget gaming or I'm out of game money and looking for other games to play. I've found the local library to be a great resource for Nintendo Switch games that I have yet to play. And it's great. You go in and they have a bunch of like laminated cards that show you which games they have. And you can take them out for a week. And I'm curious tomorrow, and it is due tomorrow. They say no renewal. I wonder if I could check it back in and then check it back out to continue playing it. But we'll see. I have kind of come to terms with like putting it down for now and maybe coming back and grabbing it another time. Because it's a heavy game. It's a heavy and dark and grim game, and it's not one that is necessarily super easy to look at. And I joked about it earlier, with my intro joke, that the game was, or I picked up the game to this 23-year-old game to play on my Switch too. But so like I'm playing it there. So I know like purists are gonna tell me that like PlayStation 1 is the place to play it, and I'm sure that is. But the library had the Nintendo Switch 1, Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VIII Remastered combo, and I just kind of went, it's free, so yeah, let's play Final Fantasy VII. And what a weird, and I don't want to call it nostalgia because I don't think it's nostalgia that's necessarily like mine. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like it's something that I have always thought about, and I know that Final Fantasy VII is like a very revered game. It's a game that is special to a lot of people, and it's very foundational as a RPG, and one that is getting remade a whole lot. And I didn't really realize that after I picked it up that this is a really good time to like start dipping into it, as the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming out this year, I believe, in June. And there's like the remake Intergrade, which I played the demo of, and then there's the other one that I'm forgetting what it's called, something. And I know that they like split up the game and kind of make like bigger iterations of sections of Final Fantasy VII. But yeah, like so, I'm playing the game to its truest form as of late, and yeah, I think overall it's been like a beautiful headache. Like it's a game that is kind of headache inducing for me. I don't know if it's the art style of that kind of like CG'd flat CG'd but implied three-dimensionality background, which I actually really enjoy with the 3D rendered models. Like I also didn't have a great mental health week, so like that could have something to do with it. But like it's a game that I don't know. I have a lot to say about. Let's dig into some notes. It was cool early to hear the music again and how ingrained that was in me. And when I was younger playing games like this, like Final Fantasy VII, playing Metal Gear Solid, like I remember the kind of fear I had. Like I surely knew that like this was not something I should be playing, but like my parents were cool and were allowing that to happen. And it's kind of this like obsession that kids get with like Titanic and like a car crash. Like it's like you can't look away. And I remember the kind of chiming bells and like choir of that initial like setting the reactor to blow kind of sequence. And yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I couldn't get past the like that scorpion, I think, when I was younger. I really think I'm making that up, but I don't know. But having a lot more like video game knowledge and awareness of video game language now, it's a lot easier for me to navigate, and only getting kind of stuck a couple times, but nothing that a quick like. And obviously, a 23-year-old game has plenty of guides and advice and ways to find what you need to do. But yeah, it's just something I kind of still feel that, like, for a while I've felt that, like, fear in me, at least in the familiar parts, like, of either something I played in the demo or that just initial sequence that I do remember kind of playing over and over again, them, like, jumping off the train and, neutralizing the soldiers, where you see Barrett and Cloud, doing their thing and they run off. So iconic and great, for anyone that has played it, or even if you haven't, like me, it's really easily recognizable, that the flashing of the train as you're approaching the station and showing you how gigantic this city is in the middle of, like, a desolate land, and you start to learn why. And as an adult and someone that has, like, looked into a bunch of science fiction and read books of the like, and it's a really important game to show where greed is going, and where, I should say is going. It's really easy to relate to even now. Like, it has where the rich are richer and the poor get poorer, and the poor, live in the slums of this very high-tech city that is using all of the planet's resources to get richer and be better. Meanwhile, there are people starving and living in, like, boxes and, like, construction tubes, and creating this this world that is just, like, thrown up with, like, scraps of metal and wood, and the kind of gross characters that come out of that are very illustrated in this game too. And it's that was a super interesting part, and it does go through that pretty quick, and it makes me think of what the remake Integrate is going to do, and it looks like it's going to sit in Midgar for a while, or at least from what I've heard, it's like that game stays there for most of the game, and it would be cool to stay there for a while, because you navigate the game and you start kind of, you see characters, you see these sets of people that are living in and navigating this space, but you pretty quickly, well, I shouldn't say quickly, I guess like 6 hours or so, you're out. So it's a small section of a larger 30-hour game. It's cool now, though, like, to witness a game that was made 23 years ago and see the intention, like, it, especially with the battle mechanics, like, obviously it's like real-time turn-based kind of, and it was pretty cool to, like, get a flow with it. Pretty easy to understand now with more of a, adult brain and video game knowledge. I don't feel as much fear as I did when I was a kid, when, like, you felt like you were trying to make choices and the things were still attacking you. I think that was a little scary, but now it's like, okay, like, balance it out or heal when you need to, and so on. But the camera angles when someone makes, like, a big, like, if you use, like, a big move or magic, and how it's very, like, cinematic. I remember, like, the kind of dreams that created in my head. Like, I loved having where, the camera panned down to Cloud and he's doing some cool move and has all this, like, energy around him and then shoots at the enemy. Like, that was really cool back then and is still cool today. And I think that, that's a reason why this game is so foundational, because they're just, you can see that, like, artistic intention. And with that, again, like, having me really excited to see iterations, and now that I've kind of dipped into the franchise, like, I hope that I will spend some time with Final Fantasy VII, original, but then, like, move on to the remakes and play those parts of the game and just see, like, one, like, compare and contrast and see how they iterate certain things. And I know from experience here, like, that initial lighting of the bomb and blowing up the reactor part in the Integrate demo was like really cool to see some like similar visuals, but like see how they render them now. And obviously, like we in Final Fantasy VII 1997, you get like CG like pre-rendered videos of Cloud that like obviously look really cool and make you dream about what the game could look like. And I remember doing that a lot with PlayStation 1. They would have that with a variety of games. One that comes to mind was like NHL. Like, you know, the game kind of looked like garbage, but then like the cutscenes and things like that looked really cool. And it kind of gave a glimpse or a bit of hope of like, this is what games can look like eventually. And now, like with the Integrate demo, like I get to play as the Cloud that is on the cover. And even then some, like, looks amazing with his like turtleneck tank sweater and proper lighting and 3D spaces that are really honoring the like cinematic intention of the original Final Fantasy game. It's interesting to see. It was kind of shocking to me to see like where I think some of my like early art making inspiration came from. Like these worlds in Final Fantasy VII early are so like desolate and hopeless that and it's like an aesthetic that I think I was really attracted to. I don't know if I knew I was attracted to it or if it's just like what I was exposed to, so my brain was like, yeah, that. Like just like spray painted stuff and like neon signs and like the whole cyberpunk aesthetic. I still have like images that I had drawn as a kid with like little skateboarders going around and like painting graffiti everywhere, and some of the language in it was like elsewhere or hopeless and like or hate, and you know that might just be like preteen angst as well, but that fits well with this game. But it was like I started to like really unpack like, oh, my exposure to this early definitely had an influence on that, and can definitely be credited in my you know interest in other things that maybe have a similar aesthetic. I want to share a quote that I really enjoyed Cloud saying early. They're on the train and kind of heading to where they need to go, and talking about like people living in the slums. And I quote, "People don't live in the slums unless they have to. This train can't run anywhere but the tracks that it's on." And saying that like some people don't choose that. Like they I think somebody makes a comment of like all these like low life people, you know, blah blah blah. And Cloud had perspective of like, no, like that's not how it works. Like, you know, people in the metaphor with like the train, like it might just be what they were born into and the tracks that they are on, and they can't really get off, you know. And that kind of stuff in this game, super important, super powerful. Excited to see more of it eventually, to really see where this game goes. I don't know about y'all, or just because like my sensibility now is a bit different, but I really had to turn, like, I've been playing this game like silent. I know you can turn sound effects on and off and all that. Like sometimes I'll have it on, but found like while the music is really good, I found it to be really like abrasive and kind of like weirdly, I don't know, like maybe it's the darkness of it. Like it just doesn't feel good. It's kind of like dark epic that, you know, comes through, and then the kind of that clicking sound as you are navigating the menus. Like, again, sometimes I have it on, sometimes I don't. Like it felt like it did give me a headache at some point. And I think like modern sensibilities are a bit different with sound design. But it does have like a classic nature to it that, you know, I do remember hearing, but I'm not a knock against it, but I just personal experience. There were a couple things early when you are trying to approach like the sleazy like Shinra president or like Don, like, so one I liked in, especially for like the early 90s, I enjoyed that like you have to dress up Cloud like a girl to disguise yourself to get in, because like they won't let anyone but women inside, as the Don or is gonna choose whichever woman he wants. It's really disgusting. But I liked that it wasn't inherently like homophobic or transphobic. Like it just was like, okay, like they had Cloud like change his walk a certain way to like disguise a little bit better. And he didn't really put up too much of a fight, or it wasn't like what you would hear from the 90s is like a negative connotation of gay or something like that. And it's just nice that like that was at least minimal. And then with that, like, this is a really complicated, but I felt it when I played. So at least I was like, okay, so with that moment and you enter this like clubhouse of a bunch of gross men, you get to play as like Tifa for a moment, and you end up in this room or no, you're not playing as Tifa. I'm sorry. You are playing as Cloud, but like you're dressed up as a woman, and like you get like really grossly and slowly pursued by men in the room. And I think at a time when it was definitely assumed that most PlayStation 1 players were men, I think it was really important to like be playing when that happened. And I'm sure like it could be interpreted as like funny. I'm sure people interpreted it as like exciting or arousing, but like I think that to, you know, be role playing as a woman and then have like all of these like really gross men come your way in a very like scary corner you kind of way. They're like programmed to do that. It was terrible, like, and really hard to witness and scary. And then like you unveil that you're Cloud and you're here to kick their ass, and then you do it. But yeah, I think important for 1997 can go a variety of ways, which is out of my control. But there's my take on that particular. Another note I had on this game was it is so wildly memorable. Like, from climbing up the edge of the wall using pipes and ladders and things, to finding Eris in a church that she is like harvesting flowers in, to the library in the mansion in which Sephiroth is going through all the books and discovering the reason for his existence, to, you know, all those initial scenes at the reactor, to riding a motorcycle and doing like side-by-side combat. Like almost every boss and character is super memorable because they're all crazy unique. To finding the dolphin and the girl, and, you know, fighting that giant thing. You know, it's just like these are all the reasons why this game is so revered, and like it's so wildly creative and like has so much artistic drive. That's why each moment stays in my head, and maybe it's why it's so hard to like take in. It's definitely, I would never call this like a comfortable game or like even a fun one, but like a really important game, and one that really drives curiosity, and one that really I want to see it through, pending what the library says tomorrow, and just pending some patience. Like, I don't think I kind of set like an unrealistic goal to like try to get through it by the end of the week because of the library's like 1 week loan. But yeah, there's no way I was getting through 30 hours plus of that. So yeah, landed in 10, and that's about right. So like up until you get out into the world, that the Midgar is so like industrial and dark in both like color and content. And then, the only respite from that had been like the church that has flowers in it, and then Eris's house to the side of it has a bunch of like greenery and a waterfall, and the amount of like comfort and relief that gave me was so interesting. Like it almost felt like I had been locked inside for a week and then was allowed to go outside and like breathe in fresh air. Like, and I think that has to be intentional with that game. Like or with Final Fantasy VII, like there's reasons why like her character is the way she is, and then like there is that nature that is nearby, and then as you get out of Midgar, it's so like drastically different, where it's just this like open green land and sky, and like that is almost like culture shock in comparison to like the first 5 hours that you've played, that you are again in this industrial city. And I think it very artfully shows the value of nature in that way. And curious to see where it goes. I know like there's a lot of implication that all of this, all these people are like taking the planet's energy for personal and profitable gain, and it is very clear that the planet is dying because of that. So we'll see what happens, as I think I might already know. But a couple more notes here. I'd say like it's interesting how they kind of artfully showed you how powerful Sephiroth is by like battling with him. You play as Cloud as a kid, and you're super weak, and Sephiroth has like 3,000 and some HP, which is like unheard of. And then anytime anything attacks him, it shows a 0, and then he just slashes them like one time, and then they're done. So like they could just tell you he's powerful, but like to show you, I think is really important, and putting you in that perspective, so that like you see it in the game's context. I will admit to like I'm looking at my notes here, and I saw that there was a moment where I thought about putting it down and being like, okay, the kind of old school structure of this got to me, and really like I had to remember that this is just how games were structured, where you would have a save point that was before a cutscene, and then you would have to restart, go through that whole cutscene again, do the fight, hope that you would get through it. And it was like a double boss fight where your team splits up, that I kept like mismanaging where my materia was. It is the like Shinra Tower top, where you recognize that the president is dead, and then you split up to go after who may have done it. And then I believe it's his son. Is it Rufus, his son, that is the one that's like, yeah, I'm going to take over now. I hope I'm reading that right, I think. But yeah, so you have to fight on an elevator, which was it's a tricky fight. And then you had another one after that, and I just like didn't have the right stuff. And I think quite literally after the first time I didn't get through it, and then realized I had to redo the cutscene, I was like, whatever. And then I put it down, and I had to check myself, where I'm so used to games just like letting you be successful now, where the older games were very okay with game over, and they're very okay with challenging you, and very okay with you being stuck at one particular place, because that kind of created this like epicness of a game where I remember games like this, or games that people I think were playing, that's just what you would talk about, like before the internet of YouTube and playthroughs and things like that. It was just like what you would talk to people at school about. You'd be like, oh, I'm stuck on said boss, and how did you get through that boss? Oh, cool. And that's exciting stuff to think about. and but simultaneously like hard to to continue to navigate. I think the pressure of consumption and the kind of plethora of options really hurt my ability to like sit in a game like this, because I think back then there wasn't that many games to play. So it's just like these were the games you had, and you would beat your head against the wall until you beat them. I remember when you used to say we beat games instead of we finished games. And yeah, it was funny. I went to bed one night and was like, okay, yeah, I think I'm done with it. I can just talk about it to my experience there. But then I woke up the next morning and was like, no, like let's figure this out. And it really just took another couple playthroughs of that particular boss fight to figure it out. And then, those are triumphant and you feel good about that. And you're like, okay, now I'm like really digging in. So, yeah, I will say that as of right now, I welcome a break from it. If the library tells me, no, you have to turn it in, I'm going to be okay with that. But I am certainly like in now. Like I like how much I have played, and I want to continue to play, and I would like to see it through, because I know it is a classic. I know it is one of the greatest hits. I know it is a game that is worth seeing through and knowing what happens, especially in the original one, and then to move on to see like what happens in the remakes. So speaking of the remakes, I'll speak to that a little bit before I get into the last section of the show today. And, I did play, being that it's free on Switch 2, I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade demo. And I thought I kept saying out loud, I was like, this is way more palatable and fun. And I say that like because of its modernization, the action gameplay combat is a lot more fun, and it feels better to play. But like one doesn't come without the other. Like that gameplay doesn't happen without the original. So like I definitely have an appreciation for the original, and I'm not here to say like you can't compare the two games, but you can compare the two games in regards to like they are in relationship with one another. And yeah, it was interesting. Like the combat, I didn't expect it to, I kind of expected it to be like completely new, but like it was cool that it allowed you like action sequences where you can kind of button mash with the sword if you want. But then you can also throw in like the skills that were in Final Fantasy VII, the original, or you can throw in like your magic as well. So you can use your materia use, you can use your skills like mid battle, and you just kind of like hit a button to pause everything, make your choice, and then after you make that command, then your character does that command. I found it really fun too to switch between characters. So like you roll off as like Cloud and Barrett for a little bit, and there's a sequence where it's clear that Cloud can't reach these big like camera looking shooting robot bug things that are like up above you, so you have to use Barrett to shoot. So that's how they like tutorialize that, like you have to use Barrett to shoot them down, and you just like hit the arrow button to like switch back and forth between the two characters, and that feels really cool to like combo that kind of like get a couple hits with Cloud, swipe, throw like a fire at the Scorpion boss, which was incredible in the Integrate demo. Like really, really epic boss fights, like cinematic and gameplay period. Like I really, really liked that modernization of it. But then, switch back to Barrett and then shoot like a big shot and an overcharged shot and just play with that. It took a while to get used to, but I'm definitely into it. And I think like now a goal is to, in some way, shape, or form, like see all of Final Fantasy VII from 1997, whether I play it or watch it, like just get the gist of it. And then I am interested in these remakes as well. They wrote down like too, like call me a millennial, but this is a lot more fun. And like, again, yes, it is, but like there's no way I'm playing the remake Intergrade without finishing 7 first. Like I'm definitely kind of old school in that way. But I like that, like, the structure of the remake, like, is similar to where, like, as you are waiting to move on or prompt like the next thing to happen, you can talk to everybody like you would like in an RPG. You just go up and talk to them and click. Mouth movement and like talking eye contact looks really, really good in the modern versions, but like it definitely does keep the essence, and it honors like what came before without trying to like completely reinvent it. Some of you may argue against that from experience, but like I don't think like a remake, and especially modernization, should be exactly the same, because you want it to offer something new or make it worth your money, that it is like a new experience and worth your time. At least that's my opinion. I wrote down too, and this is kind of an interesting thought. Like, I've felt like a weird, and I'm kind of breaking through it this year, like a sense of like permission needed with these big franchises like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest. And it's like, no, like just dip in some way, shape, or form. Like I think because of their like size and the fact that like you may have like missed the train or whatever, you can still like, there's never too late, I guess is what I'm saying. And it's nice to dig into the original Final Fantasy VII and like see what it was all about, and just be surprised at like how well it holds up and like how important of a game that it feels. And then to be excited then to be like, okay, now I am a part of this conversation and I'm excited to see more. And it just unlocks potential. Like, now there's a whole franchise of games that I have not touched and are potentially now feel invited to play, and it's really just myself, like I think I can limit myself because it's like when you don't know, you just kind of say, well, that's not me. But now that I just went for it, now I'm in. And the last thing I'll say about the Intergrades is like, obviously well, maybe not so obviously, but the music is exactly the same, only like fully orchestrated. And that was super cool to see how they like kept the main score and themes and then made it, modernized and beautiful and ready to go. Like, so if you've played, you all know what that's like. And I think now that the technology has caught up, like it's cool to know that the art style and the presentation can now be that like cinematic nature that the first games like really desired to have, and really did well with what they had and the technology they had available. Made really artful decisions to make a really impactful game, and now that gets just kind of, it feels like celebrated every time one of these like remakes comes out. So yeah. So Final Fantasy VII, the original, I know I didn't talk specifics. I don't really feel like I have to, because like if you've played, you know what the game is. And this is just kind of my experience playing it as a 34-year-old in 2026 for the first time. So yeah, that's that section. And when I come back, I'm going to talk and conclude with some thoughts on Mario Kart World Online. And that'll be our show. Thanks for listening. See you in a few. All right, Mario Kart World Online. This has been the Mario Kart game I have definitely played the most individually. Like every Mario Kart game, well, maybe not. I played a lot of Mario Kart Wii individually, like chasing all the trophies and the mirror tracks and all that. So I'll say, but like I didn't play 8 this much. Like 8 was just a Mario Kart game, and a Mario Kart game in my mind has always been something that you just play with other people. Like you play with the spouse, you play with your partner, you play with your roommate, you play when people are over. Mario Kart, right? Mario Kart World's different for me. I expressed in previous episodes that I've really enjoyed like the free roam mode and being able to like do all the POW challenges and just find exclusive and exciting moments within the world, but I wanted to see what online was like because I like playing this game and was curious. And it's great. I don't find it to be overwhelming or kind of crazy. Like, I find it to be very fair. I find the power-ups to be really balanced. And I have done better than I thought. I really enjoy the knockout mode, being that you start with a ton of people, and then if you are still in 20th, you keep going. If you are in 16th or better, then you keep going, then 12th, and then 8th, and then 4th, and then so on. Best I placed was 2nd. I did so with Donkey Kong, and yeah, I've been kind of navigating like kind of superstition with choices, like trying to see what character feels best. I've been kind of reflecting on the fact that Mario Kart World, especially like track wise, is very straight. It's a very like straight game that has to do with like power up balance and kind of staying out of everybody else's way, at least in regards to online. So it seems like top speed, or like speed, out of the like categories, which you have speed, acceleration, weight, and handling. Seems like speed for me is like important, but if you have like all speed and no acceleration and you get hit by a bomb, like it is taking a long time for you to get back into it. So I've been fiddling with like the balanced carts or finding things that have maybe slightly more speed. I don't really know yet. I don't know what the answer is, but it's funny, like when you play an online game like this and you have success, then I start to document in my head. I was like, okay, I got 2nd with Donkey Kong and he was using that particular cart. So that means in my mind that it's going to go that way every time. And that's not the truth. And what I really like about it is like this, not the stakes, but like the kind of like up to chance each round is. Like if you were successful every time, it wouldn't be fun. So it is nice that each race feels like a race. And, sometimes I get halfway through a knockout and other times I get to the bottom 4. But if you really have to earn your way to the bottom 4, and you have to be careful about when you use your power-ups. You have to be careful about, again, like I found that like staying on the edges or staying just like clear of other racers is helpful, because when other racers get their power-ups, like they'll have their shells surrounding them, they'll have bananas surrounding them, or they'll just like bump into you. And if you're in the middle of the track itself, like you are subject to any sort of bomb or shell or chaos that might be happening. But it's a more twitchy and engaging Mario Kart experience, where I am paying attention to like every coin that I gather and trying to hold on to them. I am really looking at drift lines and making sure that I drift at an appropriate time, because it all does feel like it matters, because you have to, it's racing, like you have to be fast. It's less of that like automatic experience that you get with racing on the computers. And another like endearing thing that I liked about just the Nintendo-ness of the onlineness is like the names that you play against are not the gamer tags. Like mine it's just my first name, because it's what I put in on my Nintendo, because I don't know, it's just different. Like it's fun to race against like Jim, Daniel, and Shannon, and I really liked that. I saw one that it was like parents or dad, and Nintendo's just good at that. Nintendo's good at being the family friendly console, and just seeing that, I think is special. It's just cool to know that like some parents out there, racing or playing online or whatever, and it's a little more personal than just like XX, drop shot 49, like blah. So I noted that Donkey Kong's like throw of the blue shell just looks really rad. I mean, he's like a big dude and just whips that thing forward. I don't know if everyone looks that cool. I've been kind of maining Donkey Kong. I don't know why. I think I like the old school design of them. And I remember that was like a big deal when the game was announced and showed. So kind of rolling with that. And then the last note I'd say is like that one, like I mentioned that you obviously don't get first every time, but like the hope is what kind of keeps you coming back. That like this next one, like I could get to the front, and I don't know. It's nice that it's not completely. I mean, skill has to do with it, but it really depends on like, did you not get hit with a shell? Did you not get run over by a bullet flying through? Like, a lot of that is like up to chance and the kind of randomness. And while that can be frustrating to some, I don't know. I think it shakes up the experience, and the jumping, the grinding, the gliding in Mario Kart World make the racing like way more versatile. And to see how people navigate the space and like not get penalized for like cutting a corner or just trying to get there first, like it truly does feel like a bunch of people are racing across a world. So cheers to that. Looking forward to more of that. And frankly, like I had thought about picking up Kirby Air Riders, but I'm having so much fun with Mario Kart World online that like I am okay with that being my like Nintendo Switch racing game for a bit. And we'll get to Air Riders eventually. Again, I'm thinking Pokemon has really been on the brain, and I think ZA might be next, but who knows? As you all know, my search for novelty and new and exciting is forever looping, so that will continue to happen. But that's today's show. I hope this structure works for y'all. I think it's more games focused and a little more freeing to me. If you like what you're hearing, please consider giving a review on Spotify if you are listening on Spotify, or giving a like on YouTube works as well, or just talking to someone that you know might enjoy the show. That really helps as well to kind of build a community around it. But regardless, I am thankful that you listen at all and appreciate it. If you want to talk about video games, reach out, comment on the episodes wherever you're listening to them, or you can find me on Instagram at yourfriendwholikesgames. Thanks for everything, and I'll catch you all next time. Cheers. Bye.